Mission Critical is brought to you by General Dynamics Information Technology, solving the access control challenges from point of entry to point of identity using proven ID solutions.
When disasters strike, chaos ensues. Organize, respond, verify, and control access with Core Street. Critical information for critical decisions.
Overture Card Systems, the leader in highly secure smart identification documents for America and the world. Overture, Smart ID, Smart Choices. Dayon Systems, the leader in mission-critical credentialing and identity management. Dayon has come together with industry partners to provide superior access control, identity management, and interoperability through the First Responder Program. Gemalto Card Systems, security to be free.
It was overwhelming, that horrible day in September 2001. The worst terrorist assault in America in our history. Listen to this story, because the people who tell it are now involved in dramatically improving the way we respond to even the worst imaginable crisis.
On September 11th, 2001, when the aircraft hit the Pentagon, impacted the Pentagon, the aircraft actually flew over this facility, almost clipping a radio tower which is on the property. People at this facility who happened to be outside at that particular time actually saw the plane tip its wing to make a maneuver, could actually see into the cockpit.
This man was even closer. He's the director of the Pentagon's Anti-Terrorism and Force Protection Directorate.
We had several first responders responding to the building. We had several individuals trying to evacuate the building. At the same time, we also had to keep mission capability because this is the National Military Command Center.
It's the #1 command center, in fact, and yet people needed help, which came from every direction. But who were they? Should they have access to the Pentagon?
When you see a fireman in a fireman's uniform, you automatically assume that that person has been trained and is certified to be a fireman. You see someone show up and say, I'm a doctor, you automatically assume that that person would be a doctor, otherwise they would not be on the scene. We found later on that that may not have been the case on 9/11 with all of our first responders showing up here. So we had a hard time for about the first couple of days of actually identifying, positively identifying true first responders.
Next door at the Virginia Department of Transportation, also a state police facility, they had the same problem.
The credentialing process for this facility was non-existent. And the military asked if they could take over this facility for temporary command and control, which certainly we participated in. Just had no credentialing aspect at all, though, at that time.
So what did the crisis managers do at this vital transportation command center?
They just had to forego the credentialing aspect and just allow people in.
That was 9/11. This was Katrina. The 2005 Gulf Coast Hurricane Katrina was the largest natural disaster ever to hit the U.S. Civil disorder was a major concern. Getting people to evacuate was an enormous challenge. Getting first responders in to help them was another big problem.
During Katrina, we had trained doctors and nurses that while people were trying to understand if in fact they were a doctor or nurse, for 2 and 3 days we had a group from Maryland that were driving boats, okay? Because someone couldn't make an informed decision based on the information provided that they were in fact doctors.
First responder, in my words, would be those that we would traditionally talk about as law enforcement, firefighting, and the more astute would say emergency management services and whatnot. But that really isn't the world of first responders. What Katrina really taught us was that world of emergency responders is a world that includes the telecom industry, electric power workers. If they don't have the credentials to enter into the scene and be trusted, we'll never restore what's now where the chaos is back to the way it was.
It was the same at the Pentagon. Valid first responders could not get in.
We had first responders because of certain security countermeasures that have been implemented that could not actually get to the scene because we could not positively identify that they were true first responders.
This happened in the Pentagon incident. It has happened in subsequent incidents, such as Katrina. It happened in the Mura building bombing in Oklahoma City as well. Significant delays, up to 72 hours to get people in.
The problem wasn't that federal employees, military personnel, and first responders didn't have credentials. They had lots of them.
So you had individuals who had to cross multi-jurisdictions, and they're running around with probably up to 17 to 25 badges, or as few as 5 to 7 to 9. But they have multiple badges for the same identity.
In addition to all the different first responder credentials, they offered differing types of information. Many were meaningless to those trying to control perimeter security.
We took some surveys of how many infrastructures we were looking at, how many different IDs were people looking at, and listening to the police community and listening to just the folks who ran the ports. It was pretty clear that we had literally 1,000 or more different identity systems that didn't talk to one another, or talked to one another on a limited basis.
The head of emergency management at George Washington University paints a vivid picture of what he faces.
If I get a call at 2 o'clock in the morning and something has happened, and it's broadly based, and I need to come to the university, the jurisdictions I have to pass through are manned by the Fairfax County Police, the Fairfax City Police, the Virginia State Police, the Alexandria Police, the Arlington Police, the U.S. Park Police, the State Department Diplomatic Security Service, the Secret Service, in some situations the FBI, the Metropolitan Police Department, and our own university police people. That's a lot of folks in a 19-mile trip in an emergency. Having to stop for any or all of them